Well, hello! Today we'll look at design ideas, where we get them and how we decide what to put on a quilt. We'll discuss specific techniques like stitching in the ditch, outlining, block patterns, and freehand feather designs, and see the best way to use each one. And Pam Clark shows us how to set designs in the quilt using stencils. So stay tuned. Well, hello! Today we'll look at design ideas, where we get them and how we decide what to put on a quilt. We'll discuss specific techniques like stitching in the ditch, outlining, block patterns, and freehand feather designs, and see the best way to use each one. And Pam Clark shows us how to set designs in the quilt using stencils. So stay tuned.
Linda's Longarm Quilting is made possible by Gamble Quilting Machine Company, bringing quality, innovation, and service to quilters around the world for over a quarter of a century. By YLI, making decorative threads that help you unleash your imagination. By Statler Stitcher, providing automation to enhance and expand your long arm quilting business. And by Hobbs Bonded Fibers.
Today I'm going to tell you about some different sources for design ideas and inspiration. Then we're going to put those ideas to work by applying specific techniques where they'll do the most good. But first, Pam Clark is here to demonstrate her great stenciling technique. Welcome, Pam.
Hi, Linda. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
I am so excited to see what you have to show the viewers. And I know they can use this on their home machines as well as long arm machines.
Exactly. That's what's so nice about this technique. It's just not for the long arm use. It's for anybody that does machine quilting. And even some of the hand quilters can use it.
Oh, terrific.
But anyways, what it is, the reason why I started this is because when I started long arm quilting, I could never get a pre-cut stencil. You know, I'd find these beautiful pre-cut stencils.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And then I'd take them to my block, and they wouldn't fit. So it's
you
always
you have to always resizing and doing. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Right. And so I thought, well, what if I put some lines down and use them as a reference and build around it?
Okay.
All right, so what I have is I have these two stencils. Then the only thing you have to know about this is you have to know like 7 basic designs. Really simple
I think I can do that. Okay.
Yeah, I know you can do it. Okay, and the 7 basic designs are like your E's and L's. You know, L for Linda.
Like penmanship.
Yes.
Okay.
Clamshells.
Easy.
Right.
Half circles.
Loops.
Loops.
Are
We can do
figure-eights.
those. We can do
Right?
those.
Hearts.
I can do that.
Easy. Waves.
I can do that.
Swirls, I think.
Oh, these are great.
These are simple,
Yeah,
simple
everyone
designs.
can do these. Yes.
And continuous curve. This
Okay.
one here is really important, all right, because this is what's going to speed up our quilting, and then we build around that.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let me show you the tools that I use to mark my quilt. What I do is I have a pounce pad.
Okay, this
right.
is a pounce pad.
Okay, and I like to use blue chalk because I can see it. Now, for your viewers today, I'm going to chalk it pretty heavy so you can see it. But normally, it's not chalked this heavy.
Okay, now does the chalk come off? You know,
well,
I always worry about marking.
You're right, and that is, you really want to make sure you always want to test it.
Test it,
I
okay.
test any product.
Okay.
I really do. It's so important. But if you happen to chalk it this heavy, just a mild detergent will take it off.
Okay,
It
so
really
we don't
will.
normally do it, just so we can see it.
Just so you can see
Okay.
it. I actually dust it very lightly because I'm just using it as a reference.
Okay, do you pounce it on then?
No.
Oh, no.
No, because
Okay.
you know what will happen? It'll blow off when you
Oh,
start.
okay.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's called a pounce pad.
I know
but
that.
Don't pounce it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take the stencil. Let's start with the straight line stencil.
All right.
Okay. And I've already marked it on my border.
Now, what if it doesn't come out even? I mean, that would happen to me, right?
It happens to me all the time.
Okay.
Now, I have different size of lines in here, but basically I probably use the 2-inch line stencil more than anything.
Okay.
All right, so what I do, I've already marked it about 3/4 of the way.
Okay.
All right, and here's where my border is. And if you can see this, I have it, and it's just off about 1/4 of an
Yeah,
inch
I can
right
see.
here.
You can see where your line is there, and it is off just a little.
Right, so what you don't want to do is you don't want to keep pouncing all the way across.
No, you'd end up uneven.
Right,
Okay.
so what I do is I just take this, and I always like to pat this just because I know there's chalk coming out.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to do 1,
Not mark them all at once.
No.
Oh, I see
And
you sliding
slide
that down.
I slide it.
Ah, you're fudging, huh? The
Yeah,
fudge factor.
The fudge factor,
Yeah.
which we do a lot.
Yes, we
right?
do.
I know. And then I have it.
Oh,
It's
that's
like
great.
you can't tell that it's off just a
No.
fraction of an inch.
No.
All right, and then the other one, this one is great because it doesn't matter what size your block is. All right, so this one I'm going to mark right here.
Okay.
I'm going to lay it down. Now on these stencils that I have, now not all stencils come this way, but there's a rough side and a smooth side.
Oh,
and I
okay.
like to use the rough side up because it acts as an abrasive and it's going to pull the chalk out of the pad.
I see.
All right,
Okay.
so it's going to take it and kind of scrape it across it. What you do is you line it up on the squares, just like that.
Okay. And if it's not perfectly square?
Oh, well, you're going to fudge again.
Okay, you fudge again.
You know, because we don't always get those perfect
No,
squares.
you
All right, that's what's really
Okay.
nice about this
I
because you
see.
can. You line it up and you always have the middle.
You have right in the center without, oh,
Then
that's,
you're going to dust it across, just like so.
wow. So that could even just help you find the center if you want to just find a center. Oh,
if you want to
that's
find
wonderful.
the center, it is a great tool to have.
Yeah.
All right, and I like to kind of rub my hand across
Okay.
this because I don't want this chalk to go down into my hook mechanism.
Oh, could it be harmful to your machine?
Well, it hasn't been harmful to my machine, and I've been using this technique for about 12 years.
oh,
With
well
this
then
chalk.
I'm okay.
Okay, yeah, I know. So, but I do want to be really careful. I don't ever want to take any chances because I love my machine.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I want to take care of it. So,
clean
make
them out.
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Clean it out. If you happen to get it around the foot of the machine, you just blow it out with a little bit of candy
Okay.
or air compressor.
Okay.
All right. And then I have this little block right here, and I'm going to show you how easy that is to line up.
Okay.
You're just going to lay the stencil down,
Very same thing.
Same thing.
Any size. That's terrific.
dust it.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'm going to show you how the technique works. I need to draw it up for you.
Okay.
So here's my stencil
Uh-huh.
right here, and I'm going to show you how it works. You're going to start in this left-hand corner because when we bring our thread up, we don't have to stop.
Right.
All right?
Okay.
And then I'm going to create like a clamshell to the middle,
Okay.
keeping it evenly spaced all the way.
All right.
And then I'm going to do the same shape all the way up to here, keeping it inside this line right here, all the way up,
Okay.
down this way,
Oh.
around. And what's really nice is that I don't do a lot of ditch quilting, so it's really important that my design fills up the block.
Yes, yes.
Because
you
I don't
all
want-
those poofy seams.
No,
Yeah. Okay.
no. All the way around.
Right.
All right, and through.
So I can see you could get good at this. Yes.
Yes, and you know
Okay.
what? And
Now, do you worry about all the lines in the middle?
I do.
Okay.
Yes. One thing you want to do when you first start this, obviously I'm going to be using a little bit darker thread today,
Right.
but normally I'm going to use a thread that matches my background as close
Okay.
as possible.
That makes it safer.
Yes,
Okay.
and then you want to make sure that you try to stop one stitch from the center.
So you don't go through it again.
Right, because you
Okay.
don't want a big buildup of thread. So.
Okay. Good.
All right, so are you ready to see how
Oh,
this works?
yes. We want
Okay.
to see you sew.
How about if we start with our border?
the border,
All right.
okay.
And I'm going to do the E's and the L's. Now, it's really easy to remember the E's and the L's because on the lines here, you're going to put an E in the empty, L on the line. That's going to make it so it comes out even. So when
Real
you get
easy.
into your corner here, you might want to put
Have
a
the
big
same.
L.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to pull my thread up.
There you go.
And I don't do the tapping. What I do is I kind of rock my stitches back and forth when I start. So I kind of stitch in place a little bit.
Okay.
I do
And
an
there
E
she goes.
and an L on the line. Now, anytime you try to do this without the lines, what's going to happen, it's going to be like your handwriting.
Uh-huh.
And they're going to start leaning a little bit.
Oh, yeah, and that
and we
wouldn't be...
don't want
no.
them to lean.
They would look different, then, you know, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have an even design.
Right. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do a reverse clamshell.
Okay.
Because it's very easy to see the middle of it. But you could actually slide the stencil over and get
And
another
mark
mark.
again. Okay.
But once you
Okay.
learn the technique, you can actually eye an inch.
Oh, how
So I'm just
cute.
going to do a little loop in there.
That's the loop design, which
Uh-huh.
we practiced
Yes.
in the air. Okay. That is so cute, Pam.
And what a nice design for a border.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Or
simple.
sashings.
Or
we do so many
oh.
sashings. And
Sashing.
ideas for sashings we always
Exactly.
need.
Yes,
Terrific.
this really speeds
I
up
can
time.
see this would just go so fast. It's hard for me to watch other people quilt because I want to be there.
Well, you can take no.
No.
All right, now I'm going to do, I'm going to come up to this block and I'm going
Okay.
to show you how to do this one design that I drew up on the paper. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here into this block.
Oh,
because
without breaking your thread
right,
and continuous. Okay.
Right, because if you look at this block, our lines
It's
are already in
they're
there.
already there.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring this up. and lock my stitches.
Just keep quilting. Yay.
I'm going to come down to the middle, up to that straight line.
The same thing that you did on the
Same thing
paper.
I just did.
Okay.
Now I'm going to come over into here.
Okay.
And you can always add a different shape into here, like maybe a swirl or a heart shape. And I can actually come down to that one and continue into that block.
Continue. So then you just go back the other direction, reverse, and go back.
Exactly.
Amazing.
You know what? It's really fun. And it takes the pressure off of you of being so exact all the time.
Well, it just goes so much faster.
It does. And it fills up the block.
Well, hello. Today we'll look at design ideas, where we get them, and how we decide what to put on a quilt. We'll discuss specific techniques like stitching in the ditch, outlining, block patterns, and freehand feather designs, and see the best way to use each one. And Pam Clark shows us how to set designs in the quilt using stencils. So stay tuned.
Linda's Longarm Quilting is made possible by Gamble Quilting Machine Company, bringing quality, innovation, and service to quilters around the world for over a quarter of a century. By YLI, making decorative threads that help you unleash your imagination. By Statler Stitcher, providing automation to enhance and expand your long-arm quilting business. And by
Inspiration is the community of talented quilters all around me. Some of the places I look to get ideas include quilt books. Not all of the quilting shows in books, so it's easy for you to go through the books and see which ones are going to show you off the quilting. So be sure you look for that when you're getting the books. Quilt patterns. There's myriads of quilt patterns, and they have all kinds of designs that are inspirational to you. And there's roll patterns. So you can do your pantographs on those. There's also a portfolio. This is really important, that you take pictures of the quilts that you do. Your students are going to love looking through your portfolio at some of their friends' quilts and some of the wonderful work that you've done. Also quilt shows. When you go to a quilt show now, instead of just looking at the color, you'll be looking at the quilting. Get as close as you can and take pictures so that you can take those home and put those in a book and have those as part of your inspiration. These are good starting places. You can take these resources as inspiration and let your artistic talent and imagination run from there. And now that we've got some good ideas and fresh inspiration, let's put them to work and see how we decide where specific techniques will work best. This is a delectable mountain quilt, and as I looked at it, I can see a lot of sharp points. So I thought in the areas around the center, it would be a good idea to put a softer feather, and to really bring that feather out and make it the focal point of what the quilt is all about, I decided to trapunto the feather. So I want to show you, since this is already done, I want to show you what that process was like. First of all, you use a wash-away thread, which is a dissolvable thread in water on the top, and then a thread that matches your project top on the bottom, or in the bobbin area. And you do your design work just with the batting and the top. Then you remove it from the machine, and you can do that all at once, just like you do the quilt. So it's all one big piece of batting. You take it off and you carefully cut around the batting design. So you cut away everything that you don't want to stand out. You can see partially cut here and then completely cut. So you still have your wash away thread. Then you mount it back on with your lining and your regular batting, just as if you hadn't done all of that work. And I have another sample here I just wanted to show you. Once your quilt is complete, you can just really spray down one side. This side is completely sprayed down, and you can see all of that wash away thread is gone. This side I haven't wet yet, so you can still see the wash away thread. So you go right back over that same stitching, but it will disappear. So here we have the wash away thread, and I'm going to go around this feather again. There we go. Bring up my bobbin. There's a lot of thicknesses in there, and so your machine is going to have to go through all those thicknesses because you've got two layers of batting, a top and a lining in there. So here we go. Just around the very same stitching. I am going to come in this because on the other side I did a little feather on the inside, and this is just freehand. And when you do feathers, you just sort of think of a half of a heart as you're doing them. And of course, you practice a lot so that you feel very comfortable when you get to the machine. And as you go around these trapuntoed areas, your machine wants to stay right on that edge, on that very same stitching. It just sort of falls into that little ditch. We've got the top part there done. And around here, and as I come back, I'm thinking that I'm laying the feather down on the stem. It doesn't stand straight out. It lays down on the stem. And it often is a good idea for beginners to think of the heart, of a half of a heart, as your feather shape. Now your feathers will change shape as you do more feathers. They kind of grow with you. But when you're first beginning to do those feathers, and I'm going out to the stem out here the second time, reaching out and coming back, sort of in a half of a heart shape. So I've completely gone around that trapuntoed area. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to go out and echo about 1/4 of an inch away from that design. And I'm going to stop right there and cut that thread. Get that out of the way. There we go. Continue with my 1/4 inch. Now it's real important that I don't get too close in this because I'm going to come back in that area and put a very tiny little design inside of this. Trapunto needs to be raised up. So we have to quilt close to the trapunto to make a contrast. So we have very flat and then the trapunto is very raised. So this alone wouldn't do it. I need to get in there and really do a tighter design. So I'm going to, inside of that echo, between the trapunto and the echo design, I'm going to do some little swirls. Now there's all kinds of designs that I have found work very, very well to put in between the echo and the trapunto. This one I just chose this little swirl because it looks very delicate and dainty. You can also use like a zigzag design. And that gives you a totally different look. Now from there I would continue to echo, and when I'm echoing, there's some areas as I'm going around that I simply won't get back to that area because I can't come back through here. I don't have enough room as I'm echoing to come back through. So I'm going to, while I'm there, continue to finish that area. And I just call it a bounce. You just sort of bounce, bounce, and then get over into your next area. Like that. Bounce, and back, bounce, and then we'll go right over to the next area. So you complete the area while you're there, because you're not going to pass that way again. So you have to fill it up while you're there. And don't be afraid to just keep quilting and filling those up. Keep them as curved as possible. Sometimes in these areas, if you don't think of bouncing and following the sides, you get very straight, and so you lose the shape of what you are doing. So you really want to keep those going. Okay, we'll just keep bouncing and echoing all the way around. Now on this side, all I have to do is like one echo there. You can see that. And then start bouncing again to fill that in and continue like that until that whole area is filled up. Wasn't that fun? So I also, as I looked at this design, I thought, well, it is Delectable Mountains and there are a lot of points. So I kind of wanted to keep some of that mountain effect going. So on the edges here, I thought what would be good? I would just use my ruler. And I do have an extended base on, which gives me a nice flat area around here. Sort of like when you put your machine, your other base on your machine to help you when you have an open arm, and then you put your other part on so that you can use that to help you with your tools. So now I'm just going to go up to the center and back down. You see I can do this in a continuous fashion. And I did it on the green part as well, and just back down to my seam. So up in the middle, and then back down to my seam, up in the middle, and back down to my seam, and I would continue around. Now, to really make this stand up and give me a contrast, I needed to fill in these little mountains, and I just follow a seam back over and down to get to the next area. And this is called a pattern meandering. And you just keep your stitches as even as possible. I just follow these up and back, and then each one, trying not to break my thread. Now you could stop and start many, many times, but if you can figure out a way to do it and just go back in a seam that you've already been in, then it saves you a lot of time and you don't have a lot of stops and starts on your quilt. See, this is just back and forth. I'm keeping it as horizontal as I can and making sure that my spacing is about the same on all of that. So I go all the way around the quilt and finish that. And you can see how that just raises that up, and I love that. Now in the corners, since when we're with mountains, I was thinking of stars. So out here in this wonderful open area, I decided I would use the star template, and we have all kinds of wonderful tools like this that we can use. Now it also has a circle on it. So I'm going to go around the circle first, and I just hold my tool next to the foot like this as I go around it, and I'm going to of course have to stop, which is nice to have this regulated stitch so that you can stop and readjust. But you see my fingers are next to the template. So that gave me a perfect circle right where I wanted it. Now turn the machine off and put the star on. It just slips on like that on the foot, and place it back here. And then again, keeping the foot right next to the template. You're actually using that template as your guide, and your left hand is working hard keeping that template nice and flat. And there we have our star. So now we have a star in a circle, which is wonderful, and we're going to go ahead and feather that star. Now when you're feathering a star, think of the points. I'm going to lean, and the inside point I'm going to go straight, and then I lean, and the outside point is going to be straight, and I'm leaning these feathers toward the outside points, but you see the inside point and the outside points are all straight. So it's lean, straight, lean, straight. And you know, quilters talk to themselves all the time, so I know I don't sound strange at all. You have to say things to yourself and give yourself encouragement all the time. And if you do that, I know you can do this too. So now, let's also put a feathered wreath around here. And I'll just do the inside at this point. But you just start here, and again with those feathers, half of a heart. Here we go. Completing the feathers all the way around on the inside of this. And I bet you didn't think you could do a feathered wreath without a pattern. But you know, it is so easy. If you practice this on paper for a while, I know you can do this. It's all it takes is a little practice. Always have a paper and pencil beside your bed, because you're going to get inspiration in the middle of the night. You have to wake up and just do those feathers right. And your doodling's going to change too, because you're going to be doing useful doodling now instead of scribbling when you're talking on the phone. Now I'm going to roll the quilt up and show you how to stitch in the ditch in the middle. So now with our extended base on, I'm going to show you how to stitch in the ditch. I've already gone partially around this square, and I'm going to start by getting some little stitches here to secure my threads right on top of the same stitches that I ended with. And then I place my ruler, you see, 1/4 of an inch away from that seam. And then as I turn my machine on, I can just pull that machine right along in that seam. Now my left hand is really guiding. You see this right hand? If you watch that right hand, all it is doing is propelling the machine. It is not controlling the machine at all. It's just propelling it. The left hand decides where you're going. Now I've completed the stitch in the ditch there, and anytime you have embroidery, and you're going to have lots of embroidery on your quilts, more and more all the time, don't be afraid to go around that embroidery. If you're going to go in there and stipple, just go right ahead and get right around that embroidery and go around and outline it. Now on the rest of these little squares, especially on this ecru color, what's really going to show, I wanted to make this center the focal point of the quilt with the feathers just surrounding it and showing it off. And so again, I'm doing a patterned meandering, but I'm keeping it in the corners at a diagonal. And then when I get back on the sides, I'm keeping them perpendicular to the sides, like this. Now this is... Well, hello! Today we'll look at design ideas, where we get them and how we decide what to put on a quilt. We'll discuss specific techniques like stitching in the ditch, outlining, block patterns, and freehand feather designs, and see the best way to use each one. And Pam Clark shows us how to set designs in the quilt using stencils. So stay tuned.
Linda's Longarm Quilting is made possible by Gamble Quilting Machine Company, bringing quality, innovation, and service to quilters around the world for over a quarter of a century. By YLI, making decorative threads that help you unleash your imagination. By Statler Stitcher, providing automation to enhance and expand your long-arm quilting business. And by Hobbs Bonded Fibers.
Today I'm going to tell you about some different sources for design ideas and inspiration. Then we're going to put those ideas to work by applying specific techniques where they'll do the most good. But first, Pam Clark is here to demonstrate her great stenciling technique. Welcome, Pam.
Hi, Linda. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
I am so excited to see what you have to show the viewers. And I know they can use this as on their home machines as well as long arm machines.
Exactly. That's what's so nice about this technique. It's just not for the long arm use. It's for anybody that does machine quilting. And even some of the hand quilters can use it.
Oh, terrific.
But anyways, what it is, the reason why I started this is because when I started long arm quilting, I could never get a pre-cut stencil. You know, I'd find these beautiful pre-cut stencils.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and then I'd take them to my block, and they wouldn't fit.